If you're a follically impaired fan of video games, you haven't really been given too many heroes to look up to over the decades. That said, if you are rocking the head of a crash test dummy, I reckon it's time you took a shine to Agent 47 for all of your role model needs. Think of him as a John Wick with more wind resistance, a chiseled, glassy-eyed professional who dresses sharper than his shurikens, to the point where thirstier folk have been known to say he puts the arse in classy mass murderer. Twice no less. This preternaturally talented psycho turned my head, along with about 1,000 other NPC noggins, way back in 2000 with his absolutely killer debut on PC. Fast forward to 2016, and we were all treated to a much celebrated series reboot, followed by a kind of more of the same Season 2-esque sequel 2 years later. Today, I've just spent several days playing the bookending title to this new trilogy, Hitman III, or 3 if you'd like, because for some weird reason IO Interactive has switched naming conventions in a blatant attempt to attract Roman gamers. Weird kind of market to try and get into, we'll have to see if it pays off.
Any news on the new guard assigned to codename Pinky?
I got word that he entered the building, but he isn't reported for duty yet.
Probably still down at the depot, getting his uniform. I just hope he's got his papers with him. I heard rumors that he used to work in that Downwood rank.
Look, this is gonna make me look really bad.
I'm sure it's around here somewhere. Don't you worry. A colleague is also out there looking.
But this is awful. I mean, I'm in my...
When it comes to the narrative, I'm going to be honest with you. This revived trilogy started out quite strong, and then it, I don't know, kind of went a little loopy in the second act. Fortunately, it's been my experience that most of the Hitman fanbase, myself included, aren't particularly interested in the whys and wherefores of this universe. We're pretty much just in it for the wet work. Be that as it may, let's quickly get you up to speed on where we are at the start of Hitman 3, and I'm not going to delve any deeper than the contents of your first mission. Also, why waste my voice box on a recap when I can just have the sultry sound of one of the main characters do it for me? I mean, I'm just going to borrow the audio of the official recap option in the menu, but for some reason they've decided to set that on just like white text over a black background. Instead, I'm just going to set it to footage of me being an idiot.
Agent 47 and Diana Burnwood are the world's top assassins working for the ICA. Unknowingly, they have been hired by a shadow client to target a number of operatives of Providence, a secret organization working in the highest echelons of power. Providence's controller, the Constant, approaches Diana and makes her a deal. Eliminate the Shadow Client and learn about 47's past. But when 47 discovers that the Shadow Client is Lucas Gray, his lost childhood friend, he and Diana switch sides to fulfill an old pact. Destroy Providence. Together, they manage to capture the Constant, forcing him to reveal the identities of the three Providence partners. Eliminate them, and the war would be over. However, the Constant has an ace up his sleeve.
So, yeah, I mean, there you have it. Welcome back, 47, to the usual Hitman stuff. Take control of a sociopathic slaphead and continue to creatively murder a cabal of a-holes. In gameplay terms, that means more meticulous planning, blending into your environment as best you can, save scumming, blending into your environment some more, and then, when the opportune moment arrives, you'll swoop down on your prey like an eagle. A bald one. The plight of Agent 47 may sound like every other Hitman game you've ever played before, and that's because it is. But you've also got to give this series props for just still being unique in the wider landscape of gaming. In a sea of brain-dead shooters and looters, this thinking man's murder sim still somehow feels fresh. As fresh as that first, icy gulp of Fountain View. When it comes to doing your dastardly deeds, not a lot has changed in 47's approach. You still rock up to a mission and spend your first of many goes at it just doing recon. Looking for chinks in the armour of security. Eavesdropping quickly becomes as important an art form as sleeve swapping. Being the wrong man in the right place will allow you to further sniff out for documents that can reveal unique meeting times, free security passcodes, or the revealing of an exploitable idiosyncrasy of your mark. Quick example, and this is drawn from the opening mission where I was tasked with eliminating two very different targets on two very different sections of quite a vertical and lushly detailed skyscraper sandbox. The first future corpse is Marcus, an up himself artiste who kind of freely wanders the lower tiers of this tower environment, sometimes mingling for drinky poos with his fellow one percenters, and other times wandering his crappy and derivative art installation, which looks like this moodily lit, world's most expensive laser tag arena. Do some poking and you may actually catch Marcus in the maze-like, non-minimap backstage areas of this tower. A somewhat confusing noodle of interconnected laundry rooms, kitchens, maintenance hidey holes, and serving staff mustering rooms. Why does Marcus need to leave the glitz to rub shoulders with the help? Apparently, and if you're there to hear it, his new personal bodyguard is 30 minutes late. Sounds like a job opportunity for a go-getting globehead like yourself, 47. Moving on, my second target was way more paranoid, and for some of you newcomers to the series, he's going to be tough to snuff. 66-year-old Carl Ingram is a recluse who rarely leaves the sizable penthouse suite of this tower. If you're the type to knock people out for the purposes of stealing their security clearance, you should know that there are several layers of guard types standing between you and this slimy old bastard. You'll have to chameleon your way from being basic security to penthouse security,
How are you, sir?
and finally personal bodyguard status. And I mean, hey, this being Hitman, there are of course ways to just completely avoid that security guard ladder. Why not just dress flashy, find a way to insert yourself into Carl's personal meeting schedule, and then just fake it till you make it into stabbing distance of him.
It's a hell of a uniform you got there, guy.
Basically, IO's, and indeed Agent 47's, bloody modus operandi hasn't changed one iota since the last game. This is more or less a puzzle experience that you can complete stealthily, or via the social stuff I mentioned, or brute force, or some sort of haphazard combination of all of those things at once. I was given access to play like a bunch of the levels from the 6 on offer. However, I'm not allowed to talk beyond this first encounter. Be that as it may, I mean, I happily replayed this one mission over the course of a few days, again and again. That's how intricate and entertaining this meticulously handcrafted mission is. And that's not even factoring in the bonus objectives challenges that you're going to chase as well, which can either be insanely taxing or just hilarious. When it comes to bona fide new elements and wrinkles in this sequel, while I certainly haven't seen everything in Hitman 3, I've unlocked and played a great deal. Enough to recognise that there's seems to be nothing mind-blowingly new about it. I guess the biggest thing is the introduction of a camera, which, when triggered, effectively switches you into first-person mode, like you're playing some sort of psychotic spin-off of Pokemon Snap. The camera can be used as a distraction, for photos, obviously, but no selfies, and the greatest use of it seems to be just having it as a means to electronically circumvent windows and doors. You simply point it at a thing, and your handler will do the rest. Now, before we move on to the implications of that, I should quickly say that having a camera in the game has not precipitated into IO including a bona fide photo mode. Something that I think, personally, would have made for some amazingly artful Kodak moments. Missed opportunity.
Look, buddy, I'm flattered, but I'm spoken for.
Anyway, once you have opened something with the camera, or by a special from the correct side of the door means, chances are you'll trigger another new feature of Hitman 3. IO calls these persistent shortcuts. The basic gist is, create the pathway once, and despite this kind of making no sense, it's going to be open to you again when time rewinds after you click on the retry mission button. Some purists may look down their noses at it. Personally, I think it's a pretty elegant means to encourage newcomers into feeling like they're actually having an impact on the level. Lastly, precipitation. Believe it or not, rain is a highly requested and new feature to this trilogy. It's been included here as a visual element. Unfortunately, it's in a level I just can't show you. Not even allowed to talk about it. Suffice to say, it's a decent weather system that's pretty atmospheric. Personally, I would have preferred a blood shower system to come into effect as I rain down murder. But meh, what are you going to do? Honestly, there's not much more I can say at this point about new things, and that's not due to any sort of embargo restrictions. There are maybe a handful of new melee weapon variants to unlock as far as options go. Things like a kukri knife, scimitar, and a walking cane. Nothing amazing. I also spotted one or two sort of only slightly reskin versions of existing guns. So yeah, I'd recommend curbing your expectations in that department. I guess you could argue that having full CGI rendered cutscenes is new. Again. As in Hitman 1 had them, and then Hitman 2 gave us animated storyboards instead. So yeah, I'm glad that misstep was corrected. But I wouldn't say you should go in expecting quite the same Hollywood level of direction and virtual performances that we got in the 2016 original cutscenes.
He wouldn't kill an unarmed woman, right?
Reporting for duty.
About time. Our client has been going out of his mind waiting for you. Do you have the papers?
Yes.
Good. I'll call him now.
How should I address him?
It's classified, so you don't call him anything. But officially, he's just known as codename Pinky. Sir, this is security. Just calling to let you know your new guard has finally arrived. Yes, sir. See you soon. Okay, wait here. He'll be here shortly.
Okay, you must be my new escort. I have very high standards and trust you will do your duty.
47. Marcus Stuyvesant won't be a problem anymore. Let's move on to Carl Ingram. We're not done yet.
When it comes to the exciting inclusion of VR into this game, I'm all in, but I've not been furnished with PS4 code yet. So for me, it's a blind spot as big as 47's bald spot. Historically speaking, Blood Money in 2006 was the last game in the series to have a dedicated first-person option, and anybody who played that game will tell you now. First person definitely adds a unique element to how you get your sneak on. Similarly, I imagine playing Hitman 3 on Master difficulty without the X-ray vision means you'll have to physically peek around corners to see what the guards are up to, all the while hoping nobody sneaks up behind you to put a bullet fair in your barcode. I'm also grateful to hear that IO is implementing a system where you can just look down at yourself to see what uniform you're currently rocking. That strikes me as a great idea because 47 plays dress up so often, in first-person mode it'd be easy to lose track of who you're cosplaying as from time to time. I've also been told that IO is using a prime weapon button to pointedly tell the game when you wish to use an object, or your fists, with evil intent. Think of it as a bad touch button. Without it, you could just physically reach out and use 47's mitt to gingerly tap a guard on the shoulder, or perhaps to initiate a completely inappropriate back rub. Try the same motion with the prime weapon button engaged, and your friendly tap on the back is probably going to be interpreted as a James Bond judo chop. And I cannot wait to do that. It's going to be like GoldenEye all over. I'm going to go full Fierce Brosnan on everybody. I'm also very interested in the wacky and tactical opportunities that are going to open up now that they've enhanced the usual body dragging system for VR. Apparently, you can build up some arm momentum and hurl your victims. Other new wrinkles include the VR-only ability to stuff yourself under a table in order to pop and shoot from there. Honestly, the more I hear about VR, the more it sounds to me like the experience is going to feel like a vastly different beast. Yet another excuse for me to just replay all 3 games in the trilogy. That being said, it's just a shame that it's currently a PSVR exclusive. A headset that I've personally had a lot of fun with, but it isn't exactly known for its impressive max resolution or bleeding edge motion controls. Here's hoping IO sees sense and opens it up to all VR enthusiasts out there. On the topic of downsides, I gotta tell you, I don't have too many concerns at this point. I'm highly confident that this isn't going to be 2021 Cyberpunk or anything like that. I only saw minor, very isolated issues, like this guy doing a bad Nightcrawler teleport into a wall. Once or twice I also saw people animating through one another, the sort of patchable stuff that you'll see in preview code from time to time. In closing, I've got a pretty good feeling about Hitman 3, as it stands right now. It's certainly not blowing my hair back, or completely off, in terms of innovation. I personally had hoped for an expanded toolset for Agent 47, and I don't know, melee combat being more varied and dynamic. The sort of things that I've hoped for with every installment of this new trilogy, essentially. But yeah, while I do believe that a full-priced, full-numbered sequel ought to evolve more than what's on offer here, I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't satisfied by the tried-and-true gameplay loop, the cunning and creative challenges, and above all, the insane replayability that I've seen here so far. This is still champagne Hitman, a unique subgenre that still has the power to lure in any unsuspecting gamers and absolutely murder whatever free hours they think they have. My concerns here are minimal, my excitement is palpable. Essentially, I think you all need to make like Agent 47. Designate a copy of Hitman 3 as your next target, and start throwing coins at it.
You don't find this awkward? Because I find it very awkward.